Hey y'all, welcome back. Today I am so excited to share with you an entire year's worth of makeup empties. I have saved all of my makeup products from February 2024 to February 2025. Without further hesitation, we have way too much to get through. Let's get right into this video. Some of the products I used up this year, I did not start them this year. My goal throughout the past year was to go through all of the products that were halfway finished or half empty, half full, however you choose to look at it. Products that were getting too close to their expiry date. It was basically the year to get through all of the stuff in my collection and make room for new things or to figure out what I really liked going forward. First section of primers I have are gripping primers. I have the NYX Plump Right Back Primer and the Milk Hydro Grip Primer. They were both really good. I can't really distinguish a difference between the two. I prefer the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer. Next, I have smoothing primers, and I finished off the 3CE Pore Velvet Back to Baby Primer, NYX the Marshmallow Primer, and the Hourglass Vanish Airbrush Primer. Between these three, my favorite was the NYX Marshmallow Primer. Going forward, I feel like I'm going to stick with the One Size Beauty Secure the Blur Primer. It's more expensive than this one, but I feel like it just does a better job at smoothing my base makeup out. The only hydrating primer I finished off last year was this mini size of the Smashbox Photo Finish Primerizer Hydrating Primer. Really beautiful primer. If you do your skincare routine earlier in the day and then you feel like you want a little bit more moisture before you go on top with your makeup, this is a really great bridge between your skincare and your makeup routine. I really enjoy it. I don't know if I would repurchase it just because my skincare routine does everything that this does and it's more affordable. This next section is different versions of the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Rich Face Base. This is a really beautiful hydrating and smoothing skin enrichening base product. My issue is my skin is very sensitive. I have rosacea and I'm prone to bouts of eczema. This sets my skin off. So here I have the Vitamin Rich Face Base in a squeeze tube. I have the potted version and I have the eye base. These are all sample sizes, but oh my goodness, my skin goes crazy if I use it at all. Like, it's really beautiful when I put on, but when I go to remove my makeup at the end of the night, my skin just is red and blotchy and very, very sensitive. Beautiful product. If you're not sensitive, you might like this, but for me, I'm gonna skip it going forward. Next up, we have glow bases. I have the L'Oreal Lumi Glotion in the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Perfector 4-in-1 Glow Makeup Base in the shade 00 Fair Light, and the L'Oreal Lumi Glotion is 901 Fair Glow. Between the two, I much prefer the L'Oreal. I've loved this for years. This is the third or fourth tube of this I've been through, and it's so beautiful. It gives you a lightweight glow to the skin, but it doesn't enhance any texture or irregularities. It's really, really beautiful. This was okay. The sponge applicator I just got annoyed with, and between the two, I would rather have this than this. I finished off a ton of foundations. Most of them were expiring, so I tried to get them out because they were over halfway finished. Let's get out of the way the things that I just wasn't crazy about. Maybelline Instant Age Rewind 4-in-1 Whipped Matte Perfector. I ended up using this over really luminous foundations and it smoothed out the skin. It's almost a step between a skin enhancing tint and a blurring primer. It was okay. When my skin felt dry or dehydrated, this accentuated. Urban Decay Stay Naked Hydromaniac Tinted Glow Hydrator. This is the shade 20 Fair. This just always made my skin look really, really patchy. I did not finish this. There's about half of the tube left. I'm not going to pass it on to anyone because it's too old, but also I didn't like the way it made my skin look. I know some people really like this. It just was not for me. Next, I have some middle of the road foundations. I just never quite fully formed my feeling on. I actually finished them, which is empty. The first one looks like I scraped it clean. This is the Dior Forever Skin Caring Matte Foundation in the shade 0CR. This was okay. The shade matches my body, but for my face and neck, it's too light. So I ended up mixing it and it was okay, but there's other mattifying foundations I prefer more. A great example of a matte foundation that I prefer more than the Dior would be something like the Chanel Ultra Reluctant Velvet, the back shaker bottle. I think it's still available. If it is, it's one of the most beautiful smoothing matte foundations. Or you can go for a classic like MAC Studio Fix Powder Plus Foundation, which is beautiful. I have it in multiple shades in my collection still. Next, I have the Shiseido Synchro Skin Self-Refreshing Oil-Free Foundation in the shade 140 Porcelain. It was okay. I didn't love it. It looked a little bit more makeup-y than I like on my skin. It just never really excited me. L'Oreal True Match Nude Hyaluronic Tinted Serum in shade 0.5 through 2, very light. This is the second bottle I've gone through this. I loved the first bottle and I went through it quite quickly. The second bottle, I didn't enjoy it. I did purchase a pump separately because the pipette that it comes with just makes it a little too messy. This bottle I did not have the best luck with. Going forward, I would not repurchase this. The next foundation is one that just expired. This is the Hints Second Skin Foundation SPF 30 PA2+, and I have the shade 17 Porcelain. I saw this on Olive Young. I thought it looked beautiful. The packaging was especially pleasing. My issue is the shade was too light and it pulled too warm yellow for my skin tone. Besides the shade, there was just something about how this foundation looked on the skin that I wasn't a big fan of. I just ended up letting this sit in the drawer and go to waste, which is unfortunate. L'Oreal Age Perfect 4-in-1 Tinted Balm in the shade 20 Fair. I completely used this up. This was a really nice product that I enjoyed for adding coverage over a tinted sunscreen or on days when I wanted to add a little bit of something under a powder foundation, but I didn't want to use a concealer. The shade 20 was okay, but I am somewhere between this one and the warmer shade. If they expand the shade range, I might try this again. Estee Lauder Double Wear Sheer Longwear Makeup Broad Spectrum SPF 19 in the shade 1C1 Cool Own. This was one of my favorite foundations. Double Wear can be a foundation that a lot of us associate with more of a masky, full-on finish, but the Double Wear Sheer is a really beautiful, watery, satin skin-like finish, and it wears beautifully, and it also gives the skin a little bit of a soft blur finish, which I absolutely love. The shade 1C1 Cool Bone, I cannot find it here in Canada. Whenever I've been in the States, I've not thought to repurchase it. As of right now, the Lisa Eldridge Seamless Skin Tint is the one that's currently kind of filling the void that this product left in my makeup collection. I would repurchase again. Givenchy Prism Libre Skin Caring Glow Foundation in the shade 1-C105. This was a really nice hybrid between a skin tint and light to light medium coverage foundation. The shade was okay. It is more of a light to buildable medium coverage. I really loved it for the first half of the bottle, but when I got down to the second half, I just kind of lost interest in it and I wasn't as excited to use it as I was in the past. I don't know if I would repurchase it going forward because there are things like the Lisa Eldridge Skin Tint or the next foundation we're going to talk about, which I love. Chanel's #1 to Chanel Red Chameleon Revitalizing Foundation in the shade 12BR. This is the second bottle I've gone through. This is the foundation that my husband will not stop talking about. I've got a few other foundations in my collection and he's like, you need to buy the Chanel again. He's like, nothing has looked as good on your skin as your #1 to Chanel. And then we'll go to the store. He sees where I think it's like $94 here in Canada now. And he's like, okay, maybe finish off what you have, but then consider going back to the Chanel. It's a really beautiful, natural skin-like finish. It's a finish that doesn't lean too matte or too luminous. It's really, really beautiful. And throughout the day, it doesn't matter if it's really dry outside or if it's really hot and humid, it always looks beautiful on the skin. The only issue I found is the shade I have, 12BR, as I've done different skincare products and treatments to even out my skin tone. 12BR runs a little too peachy for my skin, so going forward, I might look for something a little bit more neutral. To round out my base makeup products, I have 4 cushion. Dior Dream Skin in shade number 10, rom&nd New Zero Cushion in 02 Pure 21, Clio Kill Cushion Cover in 2 Lingerie, and then I have the Espoir Water Splash Tone Up Cushion SPF 50+, PA rating of 4+. All of these were nice. The Dior is more of a sunscreen touch-up product. Espoir was a sunscreen touch-up and tone-up, which I don't really like the effect of tone-up products on my skin. I feel like they just make me look a little too washed out. Between the more typical foundation cushion compacts, the Clio Kill Cover Found Wear Cushion in 2BP lingerie. This was nice, but it was a little too much coverage for my personal taste. I didn't really love it, but if you're someone who likes something like the Tier foundation, you like a cushion that has more medium to full coverage, you might really enjoy the Clio. My favorite was the rom&nd New Zero Cushion 02 Pure 21. I do currently have one of these going in my collection now, and for me, this is a really nice satin matte finish foundation cushion that just makes your skin look fresh and healthy. And as far as all of the Hey Beauty complexion-based products, the rom&nd Pure 21 has been one of the best shade matches I've found. Let's go through some concealers. Hints concealer that goes along with the foundation. Just like the foundation, the shade is a little too warm yellow for my skin tone, and I just didn't like the way it looked on my face or under my eyes. So this is another product like the foundation that just sat in the drawer, didn't get used, and expired. Givenchy Please and Leave Skin Caring Concealer in the shade C105. I really enjoyed this, and then like the foundation, I got about halfway through and then I totally forgot about it. I was not able to completely scrape all the product out, so it still looks like it has product in it, but I scraped out what I could and I liked it. With a concealer like this, I preferred the Ulta Beauty Youthful Glow Concealer. I use the shade Fair Cool. If you were someone who likes the Givenchy, but you don't want to spend this much money on a concealer, I would go for the Ulta. The saving grace for the Givenchy is you get so much product. This you could almost use as a hybrid of a lightweight foundation and a lightweight concealer all in one. Something about the way the Ulta looked on the skin, it was just really beautiful, hydrating and smoothing, but it didn't wrinkle or crease throughout the day. Really, really love the Ulta, and I would repurchase this going forward for more of a lightweight everyday concealer option. Sephora Collection Best Skin Ever Full Coverage Multi-Use Concealer in the shade 11.5P. I just didn't like this. The shade, as it warmed up, melted into the skin, and it oxidized and went really orange. And it just always looked really kind of heavy and cakey and chunky, especially when I used it under the eyes. So this one, I'm not going to use it. I don't think it's flattering on the skin. Instead of passing it on to someone else, I'm just going to go ahead and let go of this because I've had this for about a year and a half. Luna Perfect Tip Concealer in shade 01. This has SPF 34 and a PA of 2+. This is okay. I read on some blog that this was similar to the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. I could see where it's similar, but for me, I prefer the NARS and I like the shade selection of the NARS better. This was okay, but it was a little too neutral warm for my preference, especially as an under eye concealer. Wet n Wild Mega Last Incognito All Day Full Coverage Concealer in the shade Fair Beige. This was just a little too light, too bright, and a little too matte for my personal preferences. I found it made my under eyes just look a little too heavy. If you were someone who likes a full-on heavy-duty concealer, something like the original Tarte Shape Tape, but you wanted it at an affordable price, you might really enjoy this concealer. Next, I have the Revlon Colorstay Skin Awakening Caffeine Plus Vitamin C 5-in-1 Concealer. This is shade 02 Universal Brightener. Really nice brightening concealer. This is almost like a mix of a brightener and a color corrector. Really nice. I just felt like I went through it really, really quickly. And then I also have it in shade 005, which is fair. This is about halfway full. I remember I found this on sale. I think I found it on Amazon for about half price. So I purchased it, and the shade is just really, really yellow, and it doesn't lay on the skin as nicely as the brightening shade does. So I'm going to get rid of this one too. Next, I have one that I would love to repurchase in the future. NYX Bear With Me Concealer Serum, the shade Light. This was one I used all the way up. It's a really beautiful satin matte skin-like concealer. Really, really loved this concealer, especially if you want a lightweight, more satin matte skin-like concealer. Next, I have two minis that I loved so much, I went back and repurchased them in a full size. The first one is the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer in shade Light 2 Vanilla. I have this in my collection in the full size, and I love it. Great, more medium buildable as far as coverage concealer, and the shade Light 2 Vanilla is my skin tone, but slightly more pink, so it has a really nice brightening property to it. And then I have the Tarte Double Duty Shape Tape Ultra Creamy. This is in the shade 12B be fair beige. I love this, but I found the shade to be a little too light, too bright. So when I finished this, I did repurchase this in the full size in the shade 16N. So fair light neutral, I think is what that one's called. I found it on the Tarte website. They were doing a big site-wide sale, so I got it for about 50% off. Absolutely love it. It's the concealer I have under my eyes today. Next, I have a few powder containers, and I know I have more powders than this. These two pressed powders, so the Laura Mercier Candle Glow Sheer Perfecting Powder in number 1, and the Well People Bio Base Bake Brightening Powder in 1 Universal Glow. These two I did use all the way, but I like them. But there's other finishing powders I prefer more, like the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder in the shade Ethereal Light. Really love that for finishing off my makeup at the very end. As far as these two loose powders, I've shown in a few other videos, I did mix a bunch together of loose powders I had about half full containers of, and I put them into one bin. I've been working through them, and it's made me fall in love with the powders I've used, and I'm going through that quite quickly. It's really fascinating, but really nice powders. I have still yet to find a single loose powder I absolutely love. My current favorite is the Huda Beauty Easy Bake Powder. We have a few blush products to talk about. The first one is the Honest Beauty Cream Blush. This is the shade, I think, Dusty Rose. It comes in a little tin package. I already have the pack. I have the little tin somewhere else, but this was okay. It just dried up and went off. I have this in like the lavender shade, and I absolutely love that. It wasn't until they did the shade expansion with the brighter pink and purple that there was a shade I absolutely love. Next, I have a Holika Jelly Dough Blusher. This is in the shade 05 Rose Jelly. Little cushion compact blush. This one just expired. I never fell in love with the formula. It was just always kind of lacking, and I just wanted something more than what this provides. And then I have the Flower Gel Brush Lip and Cheek. This is in the shade Strawberry Crush. This is a cream stick. I just found it's a little too emollient, and it lifts up the products under it. For a product like this, I much prefer the Pixie Beauty Lip and Cheek. I currently have that in the shade Ruby in my collection. Really love that. And there's just something about the slip and the glide of that formula that applies over the skin. It gives the skin a nice juicy glow, but it doesn't remove the makeup underneath like I experienced with this one from Flower Beauty. I also had this one for almost 3 years, so I need to let go of it. We are moving on to mascaras, and this is shameful. I went through some mascaras this year. Let's start off with the mascara primers. The one I've used the longest, this is the Benefit They're Real Tinted Primer. I used to really love this. Instead of being a traditional white tinted mascara primer, this is a brown one. I do find though, especially as I've gotten older and especially in cooler weather where my eyes can get a little dry and watery, this makes whatever I apply on top of it just run and smudge. So then I have to use like a mascara sealer, like the Etude Dr. Fixer, to keep my mascara from going all over the place. So going forward, I wouldn't repurchase this. The Diorshow Lash Primer, one of the best mascara primers I've used. It's just a little bit more pricey. And the occasions when I want to splurge, this is the mascara primer I would go for. It's really beautiful, and it gives the lashes a really nice full look. L'Oreal Voluminous Primer. This is very similar in my opinion to the Dior, except the brush is different. So this has more of a traditional fiber brush versus the Dior, which had more of a plastic bristle comb style. So I found this one gives me a little bit more volume, where the Dior gives me a little bit more separation and definition. Really like it. This is a great drugstore mascara primer. This one, I did not make it to the full 3-month mark. This is one I started using in December, and then now beginning of February, it's just gotten to the point where it's dry and chunky. I tried using it today, and I found I had to go through with a lash comb and really separate because my lashes got just really chunky looking. This is the Winky Lux First Swipe Conditioning Lash Primer. It was always a little too thick and heavy for my personal taste, so I wouldn't purchase this going forward. Next, I have a handful of mascaras that just didn't work out for me. The first one is the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer Mascara. I used this for maybe a month, and I just had issues. It was highly scented, and it smudged like no other. This was a quick in, quick out of my collection, and I can't recommend it because it smudged so horribly on me. Similar story, I have two from Essence. I have the Essence Lash Princess False Lash Effect Mascara in black brown, and the Essence Lash Without Limits in brown. Both of these smudged so horribly on me. And that's a common issue I have with mascaras. A lot of mascaras just want to run, smudge, and transfer all over my eyes. So I tend to go through a lot of mascaras because I don't generally buy a lot of high-end mascaras. And when I'm going through something like this, it's a little bit more affordable. If it doesn't work and I can't use one of my typical methods of like using a mascara sealant on top, if that doesn't work, then I tend to skip it and just move on. Both of these were a skip for me. Max Factor 2000 calorie dramatic volume. One of my friends brought this back for me from a trip they took to Europe and just ended up drying out and getting really chunky and dry on my lashes. So if it didn't dry out so quickly, it would be really nice. Unfortunately, I cannot purchase this easily here in Canada, but I would say if you were able to try it and you're in Europe, you might really like this, especially if you like something like the CoverGirl Lash Blast in the orange tube. Very similar formula in my opinion. One from Deja Vu. This is the Deja Vu Fiber Wig in brown. This is a tubing fibrous mascara. I really liked it, but I found it dried out on me very, very quickly. And then I have one that I started using about a month ago, and I don't know if it's dried or if it's just not depositing product. I don't know what's going on with it because I shouldn't have this issue with it, but this is the Can Make Tokyo Off Sunrun Mascara in the shade 03. I believe it's called Chocolate Cherry. It will deposit some mascara, but it is so extremely faint. On the plus side is it extremely long wearing. It's very tricky to get off, but I just want a little bit more. My lashes are very fine, very short, so I want a mascara that gives a lot of impact. This is just a little too natural for my personal preferences, so I would not repurchase it. Two mascaras that I purchased because they were extremely hyped up online, and I just didn't get the hype. The first one is the e.l.f. Lash and Roll. This is in the shade Deep Brown. A lot of people said this was similar to the Benefit Roller Lash, and compared to Roller Lash, I just find this to be a lot more subtle on the lashes. Roller Lash is subtle, but I can build it up to give me a little bit more drama. This, I just always got a very naturally wispy effect, and I want a little bit more than that for mascaras. On the opposite hand, Tarte Tartelette Tubing Mascara in brown. This does give my lashes really beautiful drama, but it never dries down, and I just always end up with these thick tar-like smudges all around my eyes. And for how much this mascara is, I wanted it to perform better, not end up with this like thick, sticky, smudgy tar under my eyes. So unfortunately, this was a no-go for me, and this I've been using for about 2.5 months, so it is coming up on the end of its shelf life, but being open for almost 3 months, it still does not dry down, so it's a big no-go for me. Tower 28 Make Waves Mascara in Drift, which is the brown shade, and then the Glossier Lash Slick in the shade Brown. These were both beautiful. If you are someone who wants a naturally defined lash, they are absolutely gorgeous. My complaint with them is, one, they're a little bit more expensive than I like to spend on mascara. Since I have to repurchase mascara every 3 months, I generally don't like to spend more than like $10 or $15. The Tower 28 dried out less than 2 months into being used. I got a few friends who use this and love it, and they don't care it dries out. They'll just continue to repurchase it. I want to get the full 3 months out of my mascaras, especially if I'm spending a $30 premium on mascara. So if you don't mind that it dries out quickly, you might really enjoy it. I just wanted it to last a little bit longer. Glossier Lash Slick. This was going to be one of my absolute favorites, but then the L'Oreal Voluminous Brown Balm Mascara, and this performs on my lashes almost exactly like the Glossier Lash Slick, except this is again around the $30 price point, and this was closer to $15. So for half the price, it gave me an extremely similar effect. This is like my no mascara mascara. When I want a really beautiful, natural, fluttery lash look, I like the L'Oreal. If they were the same price, I would grab whichever one I came across first throughout the day, but they're both good. If you like the Glossier Lash Slick, but you want something that is just a little bit more affordable, try the L'Oreal Balm Mascara. Benefit Bad Gal Bang, and this is in the shade, I believe it's called Rebel Brown. When I first started using this, I didn't really like it, but after it was opened for about a week or two, it ended up getting a little bit thicker, and it became one of my favorite mascaras. So much that I did repurchase in the plum shade when Ulta was doing their Black Friday $12 mascara sale. So I'm very excited to try this mascara out in plum. Currently, I am using a mini sample of the Benefit Bad Gal Bang in black, and I think it's it's called like Intense Pitch Black. I don't find this to be an intense pitch black. It's the mascara I have on today, and it does give the lashes impact, but it doesn't give as much impact as I would want from an intense black mascara. I much preferred the brown. Mascaras I absolutely love. My favorite mascara for the past few years is the Maybelline Lash Sensational Sky High Mascara. I have the shade True Brown and my absolutely favorite Burgundy Haze. I just recently got my hands on another Burgundy Haze. I keep hearing rumor that the Burgundy shade might be discontinued. I hope not, because there's just something about the little shift of purple to this mascara that really makes my green eyes pop, and I absolutely love it. The Maybelline Sky High formula is this formula that you can either apply very thinly like the Glossier Lash Lick, or you can build up to make it really dramatic, and I absolutely love it. I have another Burgundy Haze and True Brown in my backstock drawer because I do not want to be without this mascara formula. I love it so much. And then lastly, in the realm of mascara, I have two of the Etude Doctor Mascara Fixers. These are in the variation Super Long Lash. This is like a mascara top coat. I did go through both of these, but the Super Long Lash formula has these teeny tiny little fibers, and if you're not careful, they get in your eyes, and if they get in their eyes, at least my eyes, it drives them absolutely insane. When I went to go repurchase it, I got just the original, and this is, they call it natural. It's a clear mascara fixer. So if you're someone who is prone to very runny, smudgy mascara, you can use the Etude Doctor Mascara Fixer to smooth it all down and lock it in place. I would just personally go for the natural clear over the Super Long Lash because those little fibers are so agitating to my eyes, at least. I have two eyeshadow empties. The first empty is from By Terry. This is a By Terry lid star in the shade Misty Rock. Really beautiful shimmering mauve shade. Would repurchase, but I prefer the pencils from Laura Mercier and Bobbi Brown a little bit more, and they're more affordable than the By Terry. And then I also have a Phytosurgence Flash for Essence cream shadow in the shade Chilled Cherry. I didn't use this a ton because it ended up being a little bit deeper than I was anticipating, and it dried out, so no longer useful. It's totally dry. I'm a huge fan of liquid eyeliner for just tightlining a little bit at the outer corner of the lash line. My longtime favorite was the Benefit Roller Liner in brown. I don't know if they're discontinuing this, but the last few I've had, they dry out really, really quickly. So I have moved on from this, and then I started trying out the Clio Kill Brown Super Proof Pen Liner. This is a little too rich for my personal taste, and it's more of like a pinky maroon brown, a little too much for my taste. And then another old favorite is the Stila Sail Day Waterproof Liquid Eyeliner in this gray shade called Alloy. This was a longtime favorite, but I think I like a little bit more warmth in the season I'm at right now with my makeup, so I've been using more browns versus grays. Liquid eyeliner pen that I'm using now, and I have it on today just to tightline the outer corner of my upper lash line, is the Too Faced Better Than Sex Easy Glide Waterproof Liquid Eyeliner in the shade Chocolate. The nib, which is the tip, is super fine and it lasts all day long, but I don't struggle taking it off at the end of the day. So this is currently my liquid eyeliner pen of choice. And then I also have a Cali Ray Surf Proof Easy Glide Eye Definer in the shade In the Deep with 5 E's. This was on sale on Sephora. I believe I got this for around $15, and I don't remember who I saw, but someone was raving about how wonderful these pencils are, but whenever I use this on my upper waterline, within a matter of minutes, it is all under my eye, and it doesn't look good. I've got other pencils I love, like the Sephora Collection pencil eyeliners are my absolute favorite, and their full price was cheaper than this at half cost. Would not purchase this or recommend this. For eyebrows, I have a mini Benefit 24-hour brow setter, my favorite eyebrow gel. I do have it in my collection currently in the full size. Would continue to purchase. Benefit Fluff Up Brow Wax also. I have this in my collection in the tinted version. I use shade 1, which is Cool Soft Blonde. Really love it. And it gives your brows a nice hold, but where it's more of a wax consistency, it just gives it a little bit more of a piecey texture to give it more of a realistic look that isn't so absolutely polished perfect. I really enjoyed it, especially for more natural makeup days. A Sephora Collection retractable brow pencil in the shade 1.25 neutral gray brown. Really nice micro tipped pencil. I'm currently using the mini brow pencil or the micro brow pen from NYX. I prefer the Sephora Collection a little bit more. So when I finish off with the NYX, I would go back to the Sephora Collection. While we're in the realm of lashes and brows, I also used up a Kiss Falscara lash bonder. So one side you have the bonder, the other side you have the seal. This is when you want to apply a false lash under the lash root, and it's really beautiful, and it's my favorite way to apply lashes. And speaking of lashes, I have a pack in here of the Ardell Naked Lashes in shade 424, and really nice one. I cut them up in little pieces and use them under my lashes. Beautiful false lash effect. 2 Essie Speed Setters, one of the best top coats I have ever used. The only thing I like more than this is the sesh feet, but my issue with sesh feet is I'm currently at like this halfway point, and it's getting to where it's really hard to get it out. So that's my issue with a lot of nail polish type products. When they get to the halfway point, you end up having to like hold it to the side and then they dry out. So 2 of these, love it, but no longer use them. And then I have the Essie Smoothie, which is a ridge smoothing base coat. I don't really have ridgy nails, but I like using a ridge filling base coat because it just gives your nails this really smooth gel-like base. I always do my own nails at home, whether I do just polish or I do some type of gel extension. I just do my own nails because it's cheaper and I can change them out whenever I want to. I really love this Essie Smoothie base coat, and I have another one in my collection currently using. And while we're talking about nails, I do have this bright pink on my nails. This is from Essie, and this is the shade 108 Free to Roam. I found this on sale at Walgreens when I was back home for the holidays. Before I knock these off my desk, I have beauty sponges. I should have one more Sonia Kashuk sponge, but I, like my mascaras, I have a little note in my phone, or I have a little calendar date. Every 3 months, it tells me to change out my sponges and my mascaras. I've got 3 here. I don't know where the other one went, but 3 of those. And then I have a mini beauty blender. I found this in a drawer. I think I got this in a pack of 2 when I worked at Nordstrom. So that is, I left Nordstrom in like end of summer 2019. So this has been hanging around for a while. I finished off 3 lip pencils. I have an Etude Soft Touch Auto Lip Liner. I think this was in shade 03. Really beautiful neutral rose shade, but this has been discontinued. I finished off a Revlon Color Stay Long Wear Lip Liner in the shade Mink. This was like my lip shade, but a little bit darker. It was okay, just not a favorite that I'm dying to go back to. And then the Maybelline Color Sensational Shaping Lip Liner in the shade 130 Dusty Rose. This is closer to my natural lip tone. It's almost like a drugstore equivalent of the Charlotte Tilbury original Pillow Talk shade. It was okay. None of these lip liners were something that I'm really craving to go back to, like something like my MAC lip pencils or even the classic Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk. Those lip pencils just excite me a little bit more than these did. I finished off a Flower Beauty Plump Up Gloss Stick in the shade Heat. This was okay. Just this whole like retractable clicky style pen. I've got a few more in my collection I'm trying to finish off. It's not my favorite delivery system, and this one had a really odd tingle that sometimes I found a little too overwhelming for my personal preferences. And then I finished a Burt's Bees Lip Shimmer in Watermelon. This is one of the most beautiful tinted lip balms with a little bit of sheen that is quick and easy to keep in your bag and use on the go whenever you want a little bit of color. The shade Watermelon is I would say it's almost more of like a pink grape versus a watermelon. So if you want like a muted pink, very similar to what the color of the cap is, and you want a little bit of a shine, these are beautiful of empty lip tints in my collection. The first one I want to talk about is this one from Etude. This is the Dear Darling Water Tint. It hadn't reached its expiry date, but it started to turn white in the packaging, so that was my sign to let it go. Next, I have one from BIA or BBIA. This is the Last Velvet Lip Tint in the shade 21 Real Note. This was okay. It hit its expiry date and I liked it, but not enough to go through it like I did some of the other ones we're going to talk about. The next one I have is from Wakemate. This is the Velvet Blurring Fixing Tint in the shade 08 Cool Pairing. This is one of the more recent ones I purchased. It was so close to the expiry date when I got it that I didn't get to use it for that long, but also the shade ended up being, it's quite similar to the shade of the tube. It was just a little too deep and too vibrant. It was definitely more on that like winter seasonal analysis color family, and that is not what I fall into. So this was just a little too bold for my personal taste and I didn't use it much. Next one I have is from Laka. This is a dewy lip tint in the shade 102. This was okay, not my favorite. I used up a good portion of it. I had to make a conscious effort to use. I kept this in my bag for a while to use it up, but it's not one I would purchase going forward because there's other formulas I much prefer. Next I have a 3CE, I think this is a velvet tint in the shade Double Wind. One of my favorite more neutral rosy mauves. Really, really beautiful. If you're someone who is in the seasonal color analysis family, a soft summer or a soft autumn, you might absolutely love this formula and shade. The lip tint formula made me fall absolutely in love with lip tint. rom&nd Juicy Lasting Tint. Here I have shade 06 Fig Fig. This is one of their classic best-selling shades along with Jujube. It's just not the right one for me. This is again one of those more wintry shades and it's not something I reach for on a regular basis. So beautiful shade, just not the right one for me. On the other hand, you have one from their Bare Fruit series. This is number 25 Bare Grape. I used this one until I could not get any more out. It is one of the most beautiful, soft, mauvey, your lip but better, slightly neutral cool tone shades. Absolutely love this. Next, I have a selection of lip products that are almost like a fusion of tinted lip care and hydrators. So the first one, I almost used all of it up. This is the Huda Beauty Silk Balm in the shade Blush. This was okay. Not my favorite liquid lip balm type product. A liquid lip balm I absolutely loved is from rom&nd Atelier. This is the Squeaky Clean Liquid Lip Balm in the shade Garçon. Really beautiful. It took me quite a while to finish this, but I really liked it. If it wasn't so expensive, I would definitely purchase it again. This is a product I just had for way too long. Dior Lip Glow Oil in the shade 001 Pink. I believe this one is from like 2019 or 2020. It's old. It is an old one. That's why I'm getting rid of it. But there's just something about this formula I never really liked. That being said, I have a Dior lip oil on today in the shade Pink Lilac 063. And the formula of this is way different from what this is. This is a really smooth, almost slippery silicone-like lip oil that just feels so nourishing, covering on the lips. Where this one I had, and the reason I didn't use it is because it always felt thick and sticky and tacky, and it always had like a little bit of a tingle I wasn't a fan of. So I wasn't a fan of this, but now I have the Pink Lilac shade and I have a coral shade. Formula feels completely different from what this was, and I use those. Then I have the Makeup by Mario Moisture Glow Plumping Lip Serum in Mauve Glow. This was okay. It's again one of those click up balms that you can't take back down, and I just didn't like it. I found it had like this plumping effect that just felt a little too tingly on my lips, and I wasn't a fan. And the shade is a little too gray for my personal preference, and I should have remembered that when I chose my birthday present for this year, because this year one of the birthday present gifts from Sephora includes the mini size of this, so I have it again. Next, I have a few lip glosses. These are just things that sat in my collection too long, and they're definitely past their best buy date. The first one is a NYX Butter Gloss in the shade Marshmallow. This is just a very odd purpley gray, and I remember I purchased this for a soft summer color palette video. If you are someone who does well with those cool toned, muted, almost gray base colors, you might love this. For me, it has too much gray, and it just really drains the light life from my complexion. The next one is a Tom Ford Gloss Luxe in the shade 11 Gratuitous. This is something I purchased when I worked at Nordstrom. So again, this is going back to 2018, 2019. I purchased it because it was on sale, and with my employee discount, I ended up getting this for like 70% off, and I never liked it. It just always felt very thick, heavy, and gloopy, but it was Tom Ford. I didn't want to get rid of it, and it's been in my collection since, again, 2018, 2019. So it's time to let go of it. Bobbi Brown Crushed Oil Infused Gloss. This is in the shade Force of Nature. I love the formula, but there's other shades I like better, like Love Letter is one of my favorites, a new romantic, to where the shade Force of Nature, it's just a little too muted, a little too brown for my personal taste. Don't love the shade, but I love the formula. And then I have a Bare Minerals Mineralist Liquid Lip Gloss Balm in the shade Ingenuity. This was okay, but it's again one of those products that just kind of lingered in my collection and I forgot about. I'm not the biggest fan of a traditional lip gloss, but there are a few I really love, and this is just one that I forgot about and it just sat around for far too long. Next, I have a liquid lipstick from ColourPop. This is a Fresh Kiss lip cream in the shade Off to Paris. I remember I purchased this because I thought the packaging was really cute, and me and my friend were walking through Ulta. I saw this, I thought I had to have it, got home, tried it on, and this is a really muted cool tone shade that just doesn't flatter me, so I never used it, and it's been in my collection for like 2 years now, so it's time to let it go. Next, I have a handful of Bullet lipsticks, and again, these are just mostly shades that didn't work for me and they just lingered in my collection for too long. I have two from Maybelline. These are the Color Sensational Cream Formula, number 445 on the mauve and 235 Warm Me Up. These were both decent shades, but they are very gray-based, cool, neutral-leaning cool tone shades. And they're just, I don't do well with really gray-based shades. I need a little bit more liveliness to my colors, or else I can go really washed out really quickly, especially if I have more minimal face and eye makeup on. One of my other all-time favorite lipstick formulas is from Revlon. This is the Super Lustrous, and this is a cream formula in the shade 473 Mauvey Night. Now, this one's still in here, but I remember I purchased this back during 2020, and it is just way too dark for me, and it's one of those shades that you see before you see me, and it just looks like lips, but it's beautiful. If you're someone who likes a deeper, rich color, Mauvey Night might be a great shade for you. I have two from NARS. One I finished, one I didn't finish. I completely used up NARS Cruising. This is a light pinkish nude with a silver shimmer. I completely used up. This is something I would use in place of a lip gloss. And then the other one I have is NARS Raw Lip, and now it just kind of falls out of the packaging. So a very weird taupey gray shade. Lastly, for lipstick, I have one from the brand Biba or BBIA. This is another one that just ended up sitting in my collection for too long and it dried out. This is the Last Power lipstick in 08 Earl Grey. Really beautiful rosy shade, soft powdery finish. It stayed in my collection. It hit its expiry date, so I'm gonna let it go. I've got other lip products in my collection I need to finish off, but if you want a nice like neutral leaning cool toned smoky pink, this is a really beautiful shade. Last but not least, I have finishing and setting sprays. The first one is one I found in one of my back sock drawers. This is one that one of my friends gifted me. This is the Set and Refresh spray from Morphe times Jeffree Star, and this is in the Star Berry scent. The scent was overwhelming, but I do love the Morphe Continuous Setting Spray. This is definitely not available anymore. It was probably expired, but I used it up anyway, and if it wasn't for the scent, I would have absolutely loved it. I have a full size and a mini size of the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray. One of my favorite setting sprays, but my biggest complaint is when you get about the halfway point with all of the bottles I've owned. I've had about 3 of the full size and the 2 of the mini. About halfway, the pump gets sticky, so then it doesn't spray out very nicely. So that's kept me from repurchasing this setting spray. I have a Physicians Formula Essence of Healthy Mist, Toner Mist. Really really love this. Nice, beautiful glass bottle. This is something I use again as a bridge between my skincare and my makeup routine. Really love this. This might be discontinued because I cannot find it anywhere anymore. Next, I have a NYX Plump Finish Makeup Setting Spray. This was okay. I don't know. I heard about this on social media somewhere. It just didn't do anything for me, so I wouldn't repurchase this. One of my all-time favorites, MAC Fix Plus. I have an original. I have a rose scent. I think they discontinued all of the all the scented ones. There was rose, cucumber, coconut, and lavender. I like the rose, but they've all, I believe, been discontinued. And then there was the original classic Fix Plus that has a light cucumber scent. This is my favorite. I have one going now. I have two in my backup drawer. Absolutely love this setting spray. And then I have a MAC Fix Plus Stay Over. This is a really beautiful long wear formula, and I just absolutely love it. Its only issue is I tried to take the pump off to refill it, and it just wants to leak everywhere. So if you have this, don't do what I did. Do not take the lid off, or else it gets pretty messy. That is going to conclude my makeup empties for 2024. I cannot wait to see the rest that I will accumulate over the next year. Stay tuned, because next week we are going to be going through all of my skincare empties from the last year. So until then, I hope you're taking care of yourself wherever it is you are in the world, and I will see you later. Bye, y'all.